today.
This is Seth, and I'm here with Neil Goldman and Garrett Donovan, who wrote this fine episode. Hi, guys.
Hi, Seth.
Hello.
And I'm here with Greg Garcia, who was one of our fabulous writers for... how long were you there?
I think I was there for probably about 8 months, something like that. I came in, came out.
Hey, Greg, pull your mic in a little bit.
I don't even know how to do that.
There we go.
There
All
you
right.
go.
We had a hard time getting into the show. I remember this was like the final thing.
Look
we
at
came up
Quagmire's
with.
standing. What the fuck?
That joke.
A lot of jokes about how Joe is just really not handicapped at all, even though he's in a wheelchair. He can just... oh boy, this is a fucked up gag.
Oh, I love this gag.
This is funny.
Get out of here, you little bastard.
Oh, that he calls her a bastard.
Now, this
Calls the girl a bastard, right?
this was going to be a whole episode about tax season, and wasn't this going to air on April 15th? And I mean, it ended up just being the first act.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
kinda
it was,
spun
wasn't
off.
it?
Yeah. The taxes.
Yes! Rock and load! Rock and load! Bring on the pain!
That was my favorite thing about Family Guy, working on other shows, that a story would start off about something. And not even, I'm not talking about the episodes, I'm talking about just the process of breaking a story. It would start off about something, and 2 months later it would be completely different. And have about 8 or 9 different changes.
The feminist show started off, I think, as the one where Peter becomes a radical feminist started off as Peter starting his own newspaper,
Yep.
and somehow it
Got
evolved into that.
We're just taking a moment to appreciate the brilliance.
Yeah, just basking in it.
Fantastic.
I always enjoyed Stewie's relationship with the teddy bear.
Yeah, it's just he's like he has no other friends, and so he's...
A cat? A stereo? Huh?
Another episode, and
A lot of
another
domestic
time
violence.
Peter
a
gets
lot of
his
domestic
way.
Yeah.
violence, yeah. Yeah, this the IRS has a big sign out front that says IRS, right?
Yeah, that's Alex, I think.
Alex Borstein.
Was that for Party of Five, too?
Oh, that was for my refund. What the hell's party of 5?
I'm not quite sure where we were,
Family of 5.
what we were thinking on that.
You hear these different jokes, and then for me anyway, I think of the particular writer who probably pitched it, and that one said Danny to me. I think that was totally a Danny joke.
This was something that we did in this episode and sort of went back to periodically, that Peter and Lois shared an appreciation for bathroom humor and just real lowbrow. There's another episode where Peter's got to go to a... Oh, wait a minute. This is... I think actually I remember there was a lot of beer in the room when we
Now that was his first appearance, right?
yeah, Brian
They made him his
later
cousin
became,
later on.
yeah, later became Brian's
Yeah.
cousin.
Jasper, right?
But there's another episode where Peter is going to a jousting meet and he decides he's not going to do it, and Lois says, "But come on, Peter, the big meet is tomorrow." And he goes, "Did you just say big meet?" She goes, "Oh my God, I did." They both started laughing, and
Well, at the start of the series, it was like, why are these two together?
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
something that they had in common.
Goodbye. Damn it.
Electric trampoline.
once again, appearance by Adam West coming up.
I thought you were the district attorney.
No, I'm Peter Griffin.
You're here about
A lot of
Step it.
a lot of complexity to Adam's character. He's got some issues.
For the purposes of this story,
A communist! Ow!
Usually my mouth.
I think at one point, breaking this story, we tried to figure out if it was actually possible for a house not to be on the map, and I said that I lived in a house in Hermosa Beach that
It's based
Oh,
on a
that's
real
right.
was
thing.
not.
Oh, what? Oh, is that right?
Which actually wasn't true. I just wanted to get home at a decent
Thank
hour.
God you said
So
that.
yeah, I said no, it's totally
Yeah.
possible. It happened to me
Boy, you
like
should've-
3 years ago, and we went home early that night. I think like 3:30 in the morning.
Should have seen him recording this. This was something else.
When yet another one of those jokes where you just stay with it.
Yeah. He was given 110% that day.
I remember there was a lot of talk about what we should call the country.
it was Griffonia.
Peterland.
I think France was one that was
Yeah.
picked.
France.
And somebody pointed out that France already exists. Alex Borstein doing both voices there.
Lois dressed up like Jackie O.
Yeah.
Ow! You should really.
Seth Green was telling me at one point that he oftentimes would avoid reading the whole script before he would come in because he wanted to watch the show and not know what was going to happen.
Yeah,
And somehow he gave these spectacular reads while keeping himself in the dark about the rest of the show.
I would try to fall asleep sometimes in the writer's room, so then when later I watched it on
You'd be
TV,
surprised.
I'd be surprised as well.
You don't want to spoil
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'd like
You
to
just-
enjoy some of the jokes because I
You
know,
just don't come into work.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to see things coming.
That's what happens when you're a fan of the show that you work on.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is another.
I always enjoy the fact that our characters had to refer to each other by their first and last
Yeah.
name just in case they didn't look anything like each other.
Right. We always made a joke about like that Peter somehow. I don't know where I'm going with this.
That was a big family of cutaways. It was the Peter relatives thing in back in history, at important historical moments.
Yeah. A lot of gratuitous slams at the South.
Yeah.
But it's a New England-based show, so.
Chris Sheridan joke.
Now coming up, this is you guys. This is a Neil and Garrett.
Yeah, this was weird. You have very rarely on any show do you have the experience of any of your words remaining untouched. And ironically, this was the one thing that Garrett and I wrote, which we assumed.
Yeah,
was
this
gone.
was gonna be the first to go, we thought, but it made it the whole
Ironically,
way pretty
it
much
made it
untouched.
kind of untouched. And credit to Seth is an amazing. He's got a great ear. And I remember you asked me, you weren't familiar with the song, and I came into the sound booth.
You made a tape.
Right.
Yeah, you made a tape of yourself rapping.
You guys sung this. I remember hearing it.
Whitest
It's
guy
fantastic.
in the world rapping. But then
Fantastic.
I literally gave you one reading of it, and you got the rhythm down immediately.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was awesome.
I actually needed a rap song recently for something, and I didn't
call
use
me.
this. Well, I didn't use this one because I could never do it as good as
No,
this. So
it's been
I had to
spoofed
pick
as
something
well.
else. It was
Well, it's always it's. I mean, personally, I'm a big fan of musical numbers in any form, and.
But you were a little ambivalent just because it's not.
It was rap.
It was
definitely
rap.
rap.
But you do quite a good job.
No, you kicked its ass.
And one of the coolest things is like when Napster's out, even now, I guess you can type "Family Guy can't touch this," and there it is.
Yeah, it's all over the
People
place.
have it on their computers.
Now, did you register
Yeah,
that
it's
song with
BMI.
BMI? So you'll
Yeah.
very
Don't
nice.
say it a little bit.
That's supposed to be Kofi Annan.
Yep.
One of the struggles with this story, I remember, was trying to make it not too big. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like trying to keep it about Peter and not, since it's
Yeah.
basically him seceding, which in story terms is like a huge thing.
And
Yeah.
the episode we wrote before this, we blew up the world.
Yeah.
So we're trying to.
And we sort of ended
finally
up with
do that.
episodes that.
Yeah, that got totally out of control.
Somehow, this was definitely one of our biggest stories.
I thought it
but-
worked.
Yeah, it worked great. It somehow we always managed to.
Move it along.
Anytime Peter gets stuck in a situation, like the UN or going to Washington, that one,
Ooh, this has a new
It
New
does,
twist.
yeah.
new relevance.
Wonder if we will. Wonder if we will have invaded Iraq by the time this.
My guess is yes.
Or annexed it. This might have been post Clinton also. This episode. I mean, when it aired.
No.
Certainly not.
Was
when
it?
It wasn't.
No,
don't
this
think
was
so.
this was Clinton was still president.
Yeah.
I remember it was your idea, Seth. Just to, do we have it here? Where Clinton was just nude.
What are our options? Well, a military strike against.
Good act break.
Tom thinks this is going to make his career.
That's from your draft, your first draft. I love that line.
The tiny 4-bedroom.
Tiny 4-bedroom republic. Now, once again, this is where really everybody who was involved with this, our sound effects guy Bob Newland.
Yeah, did a great job.
It just did a phenomenal job because we asked him. It's got to be a sound that could sound like a machine gun, but also is believable as bubble wrap.
This was a
a great idea.
Yeah, I remember when it was conceived. It was like one of those scenes that we felt like, all right, this is the thing that makes the show work. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this episode worked, just kind of.
Yeah,
But must have been tricky to do.
This was, it was a lot of retakes on this. This was really hard to get.
I mean, did they just animate the part that's lit, basically, or did they?
No, they animated the whole thing. I think they animated the whole thing, but they oh, look, there's Stewie.
Yeah, look at the knife in her
But
back.
they would put a filter over to. This is a complex scene, but this was again.
You have a lot of exposition you got to get out. You want to do it in an interesting way.
Something you can only do in animation.
In the other episode, there was a fart box.
Yeah.
It was very boring scene in terms of the dialogue, but
Oh, right. Peter was delivering
the
it.
visuals. Yeah.
Yet another reference there that Brian likes Lois looking at her breast.
Yep.
This is a great.
This is Talking Head.
Yeah, this is something we all recorded this together. That's David Zuckerman's voice.
That is?
Really?
Yep.
Danny Smith in the lower right,
Yep.
isn't it?
There's a
So
Pythagorean
fucked
theorem
up.
again.
Oh, that's right. You guys went to fucking Yale.
That's right.
Okay. Garrett, calculate to the last digit the value of pi.
That's actually going to be on the second CD, people. DVD.
There was the first indication that Chris lusted after his mom. I don't know why we picked on her. I guess she's kind of political.
Oh God, I forgot about that line. That's a great line. Who I can't remember.
I think that was David.
That was David.
Yep.
That's a really funny line. Oh. There's something funny about Meg just blatantly calling her father an idiot. Dead on. Family circus. Very, very safe and inoffensive family circus.
Stewie shitting or grunting to shit, always magic, I think.
Yeah.
This is one where I heard
this is
Chris Sheridan every time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Chris might as well be doing it. You might as well
think-
have animated him.
It's interesting how like Peter's voice sort of evolved into. I found at times that I was like it had become sort of an amalgam of the way everyone would pitch Peter in the room. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, she's excited about a telegram from Iraq. Like
He likes all the
clinches it for
dictators.
him.
Yeah, and I love that Kramer guy. He comes in the room like this. I can't do it, but you know.
The Ayatollah.
Oh, is
I
it?
don't know.
Yeah, not all these guys are still alive. Now, I guess this was a mistake because only the women do that, right?
I think that's right.
Who the hell knows?
The hardest thing about this episode, I remember, was how to end it.
Yep.
Once we go so far.
Pretty clever ending though.
Just
that
kept
was,
getting bigger
that
and bigger.
it was-
And
It initially was like an all-out assault on Peter, and there was like war, and it just, like
Yeah.
bombs going off, and
right.
such a weird guy.
It's a great little flute thing going on before that. Basically, Quagmire implying that right before that scene began, the woman said, "Quagmire, what does your penis look like?"
Was this Garrett? Was this the episode where you drew the picture showing what Quagmire's giant penis will look like blowing through the
Bursting out of the roof.
Oh, like the Washington Monument?
Yeah, Garrett took a stance. He
Yeah,
wanted
that I drew the line on that one.
Animate Quagmire's
It
giant
could have
penis.
been. I don't even know.
This was the end that we came up with in lieu of any.
Well, there's actually, yeah, we'll see. Kind of ends in space, doesn't it?
It ends. Yeah, it ends in the future.
Right.
Yeah,
It ends in a classroom, right?
Future
Right.
generation
Yeah.
of children are studying. It was a pretty cool ending, and there was a great blow to the.
Yeah, I
Great
think
fourth wall,
I remember. So that was something I always wondered coming into the show late.
I still wonder.
Is why.
Can they understand the baby?
Yeah.
And what was the
Never
official?
You know,
Everyone had their own opinion on that.
yeah, which I think is as it should be, because there are different things that sometimes it worked and sometimes it
Yeah.
worked better for him to for them to hear him. Sometimes it worked better for them not to. And you know, it's like
I think the rule was laziness. I think is what you're saying.
Exactly. You know,
it's
it's
pretty
what
much
we wanted.
what everybody needed
you
at the time.
Oh,
There's
here it
nothing
is,
wrong
yeah.
with that. Yeah.
But really, the way I always looked at it was, here it is.
It's the eye of the beholder.
Like everybody's nodding. Like yeah. We've been wondering that
That's
ourselves.
all like there.
The way I always looked at it was they treat him like how in real life you'd treat if a 4-year-old who can speak told you to fuck off, you'd laugh because it's cute. Never mind. Even if
Seth,
he was,
I think you're the
even
only
if he
one
was
who saw it
deadly
that way.
serious.
To everybody else, they didn't know what he was talking about.
So basically, laziness.
But you know what? It doesn't matter.
No.
it doesn't
It all
matter.
it all worked out.
I didn't.
But I
I didn't-
remember you saying that that's how you saw it, and I was like, what?
And
Really?
you said, Seth, are you high?
I didn't point this out during it, but I wrote most of the jokes in that one.
Yeah. I want to thank you for that, Greg.
I created the show.